Okay. How everybody's doing this week?
Well, John, what I've noticed today is all the thoughts in my mind is all about me as a body, me as a separate person.
That's
I
honest.
just looked at it and it was like, ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, that's the only thing that the mind can present to you is thoughts about form. The mind doesn't know anything other than the form-based reality, because that when this body, mind, ego, intellect came along, you started seeing the world, and from the perspective of being an individual, took a snapshot and started seeing the world from that perspective. So the mind can't give you anything other than the illusion. So every thought that comes in is an illusory thought about the illusory existence that is not happening.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Yes, I was thinking that I could
Rami's cracking up.
No, actually, whatever Jan sir is saying, it's very much true. Like all whatever we are perceiving, it is appearing on our beingness, and it seems real because believing in the appearance as I. So once this belief is seen that it is illusion, then it's almost stopped actually. Sir, in my case, I don't know. Suddenly, I told like 3-4 weeks back, suddenly something happened. All of a sudden, this craving for food, it's gone. Because craving for food was there, like there. I'm identifying myself with the body. There is little craving for physically intimating with somebody. Like that is also gone because I was earlier identifying myself as male. I was identifying myself as body. I believe that I'm the body. Once this is seen, whenever something like some craving comes in that very moment, when this observation comes that that false belief that false thing has taken as self, when that is seen, it's gone there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I don't know, but it's going on, sir. Actually, whatever the thing you are speaking, whatever the thing Mara spoken, or Nisartha Maharaj or J. Krishnamurti, many of the things are now being validated with respect to current understanding.
Because you're starting to listen and to see and to read without the illusory mind and without the illusory person. You're perceiving cleanly without this idea that, okay, these concepts that I'm reading are filtered based on my ideas and beliefs and concepts. No, when there's no mind there and there's no you there, you can read cleanly and the reflection is there because it's not being filtered through any mind, ego, intellect. It's pure.
So that filtering actually has been creating the suffering. Now that is tremendously reduced.
Yes.
So believing in not like everything which is not as I is creating the suffering.
Hey, Rob,
very simple.
Rob, can you hold your microphone closer to your? Because I'm missing some of what you're saying.
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that's definitely better. Yeah.
Hold the microphone closer to, then we can hear you.
Like somehow, sir, like most of the time I unnecessarily spent on reading rather than, heeding attention to what Maharaj told. That was hindrance earlier. It's very simple, but still, this beingness is there, illusion is there, but this is the thing happening currently.
Yeah, the only thing that you have to watch out for is that there's something trying to acquire knowledge. When you know that there is no knowledge and ignorance are exactly the same, then you're just free to okay, this is an experience that's coming in my experience in this moment, and then it's gone. And I don't take the touch because there's no me here to do that. So I'm no longer acquiring. I no longer have to acquire. How can I acquire anything? I'm absolutely formless. And all of this form world is illusion. And anything that's acquired using the body-based existence is absolutely false. So I remain with that selfless self. I remain with that sense of presence. Just I, just I. And that's it. Then things can come and go, and I have no desire to acquire, because there's no me that a desire can form and attach to say, I want something. I am not a thing. How could I want anything?
And anything you could acquire is illusion anyway, right?
Exactly. And once the mind stops pressuring you into this belief of being a separate individual, there won't be anything that's desired. Even desires might come of, oh, I wanted something. Whoa. That was crazy. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm traveling. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Turn up the audio.
Good,
So
good.
a horn of some sort.
Yeah, I'm traveling to my hometown. You can see.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Are you on a train or a bus?
But bus, sir.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, so that was like a horn.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I
like
thought Rami, I thought the roof looked pretty close to your head there. I was just wondering where you were.
Yeah, I know what those
Yes.
buses are like in India.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Seems awfully quiet though, no background noise.
Except for that horn.
So little evolution is happening. Revolution. Yeah.
Maybe there's not a lot of traffic at 6 a.m. in the morning.
I'm traveling little countryside here. You don't see such traffic you see in big cities like Bangalore or Hyderabad.
Oh, so what city are you going to?
I'm going to my hometown. It's
Oh.
like 300 kilometers away from Bangalore.
Oh, I see. Oh, lovely. Oh,
There is a friend's wedding.
oh, a wedding.
Oh, okay. Good, good.
Oh, I know the Indian weddings are pretty amazing.
Everywhere, same thing, madam. Everywhere, it leads to more attachments. Wife, kids, their neighbors, all this thing.
Well,
Yeah.
but you can be with the family life and not be attached, knowing that just like in a play, okay, I'm a father, here's my son, I'm a husband, here's my wife, but there's no real bodily attachments because you know that it's the formlessness in all of these forms. So there's no attachment, but quite easily you can still live in the moment.
But the problem is, here two entities, husband and wife. So husband entity stop, identifying itself with anything. But still the wife entity identifies herself through the husband and his deeds. So she expects her husband to behave in some manner. When that stop, then suffering breeds. Generally.
I think if you know yourself in a real sense, then there's no more suffering. And if someone else, you interact with people all the time. I know in my work, I interact with people all the time. And they may or may not know themselves in a real sense, but that doesn't matter because you know yourself in a real sense. So these are just objects that are appearing in this awareness, and there's no need to separate. They can separate. You see another form and okay, that's selfless self, believing in itself to be an individual and looking at the lens of individuality, the world. But you see, I don't see like this. So whether they see like this or not makes no difference. And whether it's friends or whatever, you don't have to say this. It just naturally is. Because there's no you, there's no others. So communication can become quite easily nice. That's why they say you can, Siddhar Mishra Maharaj says, absolutely you can live a householder life and still the self is doing that anyway. It's just not knowing itself. And now you know yourself in a real sense. So householder or, there's no need to live in a cave. Like Maharaj says, prior to being this, were you in a cave? Prior to being this, were you like this celibate monk in the Himalayas? No. Maharaj was married and you know, had Anvita there and the whole ashram, like an ashram family, plus his wife. And yet that selfless self has complete understanding that all of this is just occurring on my spontaneous presence.
Okay.
So yeah, don't say, oh, I mean, don't go out and try to, you know, try to acquire a wife or something, but just let everything happen as it's supposed to happen spontaneously in the moment. The body-based existence has nothing to do with your spirituality. You remain as your selfless self and allow all this body-based concepts and body-based existence to be as it is.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, when this understanding that when the understanding is complete, then there is everything is happening in the awareness. And that's it. There is nothing wrong.
Exactly. It's just spontaneous activity. And yet, just like in a dream, even if you know you're dreaming, you don't sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I don't want to form attachments or relationships because when I wake up, all this is gone. No, it just is what it is. Enjoy and don't take the touch.
Suppose you could almost say there is no real suffering.
No, suffering is just a mind-created thing due to the fact that you believe you're an individual that something is happening to. It's just not true. There are happenings happening, but nothing's happening to you. You're the formlessness in which all happenings are appearing and disappearing.
Yes, sir. Actually, suffering is the misery born out of the wrong identification.
Well, yes, suffering, you have to have the perspective of, I'm this body. These things are happening to this body. Therefore, they're happening to me. No. These things are happening in a body-based existence that's appearing on my spontaneous presence, and I'm totally unconcerned. And I see, even if I try to think intellectually, I see good things happening, bad things happening. Nothing is bad forever. Nothing is good forever. So the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows, these things are just appearing on spontaneous presence. I don't have to jump in and get involved with them. They're passing. Why, if something's passing, just like we talked about, if you're sitting on the side of the river and you start to see trash and sludge and stuff like that, you don't jump in the river and flow along with it. No, because, okay, there's some trash and sludge, and now look, some beautiful ducks. Then the next scene is maybe some fish, then maybe some trash again. But that's just the flow of life. I don't have to get involved. I don't have to jump in and flow along with the mind. There's nothing. There's no experience, no experiencer, because in order to have an experience, you have to have the illusion of experience is created through the perception that I am a body and I am experiencing. The illusion of experience is because of identification with a body form that you are not. You haven't had any experience. Just like the dreamer that's dreaming, laying down, all these experiences are occurring inside the dream consciousness. The dreamer itself is not experiencing anything, even though there's a lot of activities going on. And in the same way, your formlessness is not experiencing anything because these forms are appearing and disappearing on spontaneous presence. You're not involved.
It occurred to me today that or not long after I woke up, that if something can be forgotten, it's really not very present anyway.
Well, there's no forgetting or no remembering because everything's just occurring. It's spontaneous happenings, and there's no need to take doership of these happenings because you know you're formless. And the things that occur inside the dream have nothing to do with you. You're not an actor. These different things are occurring spontaneously, and you're the dreamer, so to speak, that's observing the dream. And in this, you're the formlessness in which all this form-based reality is seemingly appearing and disappearing. You were there prior to the feeling, I exist, because you have a prior to every experience. And this feeling I exist came along with this world, all this stuff. And then the perception was, which the mind took a snapshot and said, I'm an object in this world of objects. And therefore all the thoughts are based on, I'm an object in this world of objects. That's how the mind has to basically feed information, because that's what it believes. That's the belief, is that, oh, I exist, and this snapshot is taken of, I exist as this body, and there's this world. But that's not true. The sense of existence came along, and spontaneously then you clicked and, oh, here's this. But that's not the case. And once this body-based reality, I don't want to say reality, this body-based appearance goes away, then reality is there, because this body-based appearance appeared to that you are and will disappear to that you are. That's why they talk about birth being the appearance of the I am and death being the disappearance of the I am. The appearance of, oh, I exist. Okay, now this feeling of I exist disappears. So this one to whom both appearance and disappearance of the I am is you, yourself, your selfless self. But there's nothing to know other until this sense of existence. You didn't know anything, not even yourself. After the sense of existence, you started to know so many things. But all of those things were in the illusion. So all body-based concepts and all body-based knowledge is basically zero, useless.
It also occurred to me that I don't really know myself.
Well, you know yourself in a real sense through using the body form. You can sense this subtle sense of presence. And then you just dive into that. You dive into that selfless self. You dive into that I am, as Nisargadatta Maharaj says, remain with the I am. But you need a body to be able to do this, because without a body, you have no instrument to know yourself, because there's nothing to know. There's nothing other. So when this body form, you kind of click and say, oh, okay, I can use this body as an instrument, like we talked about, to dip into the nectar of immortality and selfless self-intoxication. And you just remain there. And every time you have a thought of, oh, let me figure this out. No. Let me just remain with this presence. Yeah. Oh, let me no. Remain with this presence. Okay, I'm reading this book. I wonder what these words mean. Let me underline them and cross them. No. Let me just remain with this sense of presence. I can read and sense this sense of presence. Because as we said, once this mind is gone and you no longer believe yourself to be separate, you can read, and there's no filter of it being filtered through your ideas and beliefs as an individual who's trying to not be an individual. Because all of that's illusion.
I had to run an errand today to a town that's about 16 miles away. And there's this church that I stopped at. It's very large for, the towns around here are not very large. So, it's kind of out in the middle of the desert. It's on the outskirts of the city. It's not really, it is a city, but it's not a large city. And I've always been attracted to that church, because when you go inside, you drive up to it and there's nothing around it. They're expecting the population to grow. That's the whole idea. So they're expecting that eventually this is going to be kind of sort of in town. But every time I go in there, there's this real sense of presence that I feel there. And I went there today when I was driving to this town, and I walked in, and there's this huge crucifix hanging up there, and there's never anyone in there, never. The door is open, and it's, as I said, it's very, very large. And there's just all this space. So I was sitting there, and I just, when I look up at the crucifix, I said, it's just a real message that what keeps this going is not that body, it's that presence that you feel here. It's just the real, it's the presence, and the presence is totally different from anything else. There's just no relationship between the presence and anything. It's like, there's just, there's nothing there. So that's probably why not many people will be stopping there. I mean, they go on Sundays and that, of course, and everyone's working too. So, basically that's the reason. But it's just, just very obvious to me that the message of that cross is that you're not the body, And if this, sort of movement or faith has continued for all these centuries, it's because of the presence, and that's what people feel, I think, and it's just what I just felt it very strongly there when I went there today. The message, you're not the body. The body was there, and you can, thank the master, or you can thank Jesus for his contribution. But that represents something, like the formlessness, basically. And that's the way I kind of because I had read a little bit of Ramakant this morning about, he really hits continuously on the fact that we're formless, the formless presence. And, just being in there, just, it's like all that space, just formless, it just came very clear that, and that's the attraction, actually, I think, that's the attraction to that particular church. Why, I like to stop there periodically when I'm passing by.
Well, just know that, like Maharaj says, your own ashram is with yourself. You're feeling this, but don't associate this feeling of presence with this place, because that sense of presence is always there. It's just heightened because of the atmosphere. Exactly. That is very conducive to, I'm not thinking about anything other than this. This is the only thing that's really in my experience, so I can sense that subtle sense of presence because I'm kind of overwhelmed with the space. And like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you're the absence of phenomena. So if you look at the space, like you're saying, this wide open space, without all of the pews and the chairs and all of this sort of thing, that you are. And that sense of presence is the absence of all of this phenomena. And then as you go even more subtle, the presence is a phenomena that has appeared to that you are. Mm-hmm. And is felt because you're having this body-based kind of feeling. But yeah, the thing is, like Maharaj says, about the pilgrimage to another place or believing you're going to a holy land or all of that, your ashram is within your selfless self. And yes, you go into a place and you feel this. I mean, there's powerful places, definitely. You go to different various churches and different various religious sites. I remember like Lourdes up in Frederick. There's like this Lourdes, it's like a big fountain thing with holy water, and there's all this, and there's like one in France and one here. And you can feel the presence very strongly, but a lot of that is because that presence is your own selfless self, and now you're kind of in tune. You don't have the clamoring of the world covering up. It's like you're in tune with where you are. And there's a religiosity feeling. There's a, like the bhajans, it's just you're impressing your selfless self. You're pleasing your selfless self, as Maharaj would say.
It's kind of like a medium,
Exactly. And because the clamor of the world is shut out, you walk into the church and you're not thinking about anything. You're just kind of in awe. And so that in awe feeling, there's no illusory layers of thoughts that are covering that feeling of presence. So it's felt more strongly.
Yeah, because I also read, he did, I read this morning too, his comment about, that is really within yourself. It's not out here, but like it's your ashram, as you said, your temple is within you.
Yes.
No need to go to any temple or anything. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped. I just said, well, let me see let me check this out. But yeah, but you're right. Like the atmosphere, it's like a medium. It's an aid, just like listening to the bhajans or whatever. It kind of cuts out the distractions, you might say.
Yes.
But the goal, of course, is to carry that around wherever you go. And
yes.
But the fact, just
But to be aware, not carry it around, because you're just aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the distinction between presence and everything else was just really clear. Just this is that and that's that. And there's no relationship.
Yes.
I guess that's why I feel the presence more after waking up in the morning before the day starts closing in.
Yeah, because the clamor of I am somebody else and all the thoughts that go along with that aren't there. When you first wake up, Nisargadatta Maharaj talks about and Ramakant Maharaj talks about just I, without any kind of covering. Your mind, ego, intellect hasn't sort of geared up yet to start thinking about, okay, Keith, and I want to have my cereal, and do I have cereal, and am I enough milk or whatever, and then I have my traffic and I have this and I have that. No, it's just there's a feeling of waking up, just the subtle I without anything. And that's that. And Nisargadatta Maharaj says, if you can go throughout your day in that thought-free state, that's the greatest worship. And why is that the greatest worship? Because in the thought-free state, you're not having this illusory layers of thought separating you from the reality, from, so that I am that. When the thoughts are coming, if they're too heavy, you just have to clear them away. How? Mantra, bhajan, remaining with the sense of presence. All these will clear away the thoughts so that it's just a nice, clean, clear mirror of the reality. And then there's no impression of being a body separate doing anything.
That seems like the purpose of these holy places, like Tiruvannamalai, and Arunachala, same thing, where it helps someone get in touch with the reality rather than the world.
Yes, because intellectually speaking, you're not body, but you haven't had that realization yet. Yeah. So you go to a place where you can feel that sense of presence and still kind of knowingness of, I'm this body who knows I'm not a body, who wants to feel the sense of presence and experience the bodiless feeling.
Yeah.
But then that's okay in the beginning, but as you're continuing, that individuality, that sense of individuality is false, and that's what's creating all this illusion. So that has to be let go of. But as I'm reading books and I read, I am not body and this and that, then I go someplace and I start to feel the presence, it's because I'm concentrating on basically the presence and not being the body, associating that with I brought this body to this holy place. But in reality, I'm not a body, and this is just kind of a doorway to the reality, but this last layer has to dissolve.
Right, it's like you're intentionally opening the door for that. It's like a devotional thing. I think that's why, thousands of people go to some of these places because they do feel that, and they don't really know what it is. I mean, I think a lot of people don't.
Correct. People go to church on Sunday. They feel the sense of presence, and they believe that it's because of the church and their congregation, and they feel happy being in the church. In reality, they're just sensing that sense of presence, and it's because they're concentrated in that moment. But that sense of presence is always there. It doesn't increase or decrease. What increases or decreases is the body-based illusion, the pressures of being a body.
Right. It's all the noise that gets in the way. And the actual participation in the noise.
Yes.
That it becomes, for some reason, various reasons why people would, because of survival reasons or things like that, because of course that's belief in being the body that needs to be defended, or the ego that needs to
Because,
be offended.
yeah, because again, there's a belief that there's a body-based existence because I don't know myself in a real sense. The only thing I know is this illusory body-based existence.
Right.
This is not true, but I hold on to that because that's all I know.
Exactly.
Even though I'm told that it's not correct,
Yeah.
I hold on to that illusion because I don't know what else there is. I don't know myself in a real sense to know that the body-based illusion really is everything that's in it is illusion.
Yeah, it takes some courage. That's what I think Ramakant talked about. That's
Yes.
where courage comes in.
Yes. And that's also why, you make the journey to Maharaj or someone that is in this way who said, and like he says, the real guru will only tell you, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. That's the whole message. Accept your selfless self. There's no God, no Brahman, no Paramatma, no master, nothing is there. Because you come, you hear this, and intellectually you say, oh, I'm not body. Then you go someplace and they say, okay, to know that you're not the body, do these exercises or do this or do that, all this kind of stuff. Or you go to like Ramakant Maharaj who says, okay, the subtle sense of presence, you feel that, yes? Okay, well, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. So this presence is all there is. This entire body-based existence that you believed in is just discarded instantaneously because you're like, oh, so that I am that.
And anything in the world that you acquire will not get you any closer to that.
No.
Because it's already there. And that's what people have, the illusion if, something will be given to them or added. And
Yes.
it's not about that. It's about getting rid of the illusionary ideas of
Exactly.
what it is that you absolutely need or want.
Yes. And the body-based knowledge is only to increase the ego. Oh, how spiritual I am. I can quote Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj and Ranjit Maharaj and Judah Krishnamurti and Jesus Christ. My God, how spiritual I am. But this is all body knowledge based on body. I am a body acquiring this knowledge. And this is totally incorrect. That's why you'd cut direct. And that's why Maharaj has talked about Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramakant Maharaj. It's a direct. Because you go straight to presence, and presence unwinds the world instantly. Like you just go straight to presence. And then all of these different various masters, oh, they're exact same thing, except your selfless self. There's no God, no Brahman, no Paramatma, no master. If we're talking about chakras, well, what chakras are these? This is body-based knowledge, body-based existence, but you are not body, and everything that you acquire through the body is useless. All the knowledge that you acquire with the body is actually harming your spiritual life because you're believing that you're acquiring. But you have an empty basket and you're putting things into this empty basket and there's nothing, but you're really taking egoic sense of, look at all this stuff I'm putting in this basket that has a hole, that it can't hold anything, but I'm really, look at all this stuff I'm putting in this basket.
Don't know there's a hole in the basket.
Exactly, because you keep acquiring, because you believe yourself to be something else, and you believe that all this body-based existence is true. And that's why in our lineage, Siddharameshwar Maharaj began saying, go straight, direct. This is direct knowledge. Maharaj talks about that all the time. Ramakant Maharaj says, this is direct. The direct knowledge is you get in touch with your sense of selfless self, this sense of presence, and you go into that and you forget about all this. And the presence tells you, basically, all of this is illusion, and oh, so that I. And Maharaj, when he says, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. Okay, I sense the presence through the body, but I'm not the body. So I'm not the body. Right away, this entire world is gone. Because in order to have this world, I have to have this body. Otherwise, I'm just a space in the room with no eyes to see what's inside the space. And everything that's occurring inside the space is absolutely illusion because I'm formless. And the entire world is appearing on spontaneous presence. And everything, it's just a projection, the seer's projection. What's happening in this world? And I'm not a body. So everything that I see, everything I acquire, and all the concepts that go along with this concept of being a body, I am not.
They have nothing to
And
do
as-
with it.
yeah, nothing to do. And then presence, this is even more subtle because now I absolutely know that the world's illusion, everything's illusion, but I really hold on to this sense of presence. But then I understand that this sense of presence is illusion because it appears and disappears. It appeared and it will disappear. You won't always have this sense of presence with you. And this sense of presence created the consciousness which created all this. So this sense of presence is going to go away, but you are not going away as it appeared and disappeared to you.
The presence does not go away, just the awareness of it goes away.
Correct, yes. But it won't be there for you.
Yeah.
There will be nothing other. There's nothing. The only reason you can sense something other is because of the illusory concept of body. An instrument other than, like a measuring tool, basically.
Yeah, it's you going away, not the presence going away.
Well, not you. You don't go away. The sense of existence, I exist, goes away, but the one to whom that sense of existence appeared does not go away. That you are. Now you've removed yourself so many times. Kathleen, who's Kathleen? What is Kathleen? The sense of existence, when that goes away, you're there. But the sense of existence came along with the presence and the consciousness in which the illusory body form of Kathleen appeared.
Yeah.
So you're so far away. Like, oh, my everyday problem. What? What do you mean everyday problems? Is this before or after the sense of existence appeared to you that you're having these everyday problems?
It's kind of seeing that the character is a construct. You know, you put it together because of the environment or because of, you know, your interaction with the world caused you to create this illusory sense of a self.
I mean, no real reason actually, because you know your sense of existence, and inside this consciousness, in this dream state, two people got together, and these goo from this person and goo from that person created this other goo, and they labeled it Kathleen. And then Kathleen is the selfless self seeing through this lump of goo as this is me and perceiving a world based on that perception. A world is created spontaneously. You believe that I'm Kathleen, this is my mom, this is my dad, and this and that. But it's empty. It's like a body factory. Just these different factories, male, female, get together, create another one. That other one is you, man and female, that's you. Then this one grows up and finds another male or female, gets together, creates another lob of goo, and we create that. But it's all the spontaneous existence. It's all the presence. Everything is your own selfless self. Everyone is your own selfless self, just as the dreamer laying down at night and the entire dream world is projected. All the bodies, the sun, the moon, the fish, the dogs. It's all you. Who else could it be?
Well, it's not, it's an either or situation. Either there's separation or there isn't. There's no in between.
Well, there's not, it's neither.
Yeah.
Because it's zero. Like when you start to count, oh, it's myself, then that's one, and then you naturally say, well, there was someone there to count that self. But it's zero, less than zero, nothing. So there really is no individuality, but there is no real, there's nothing, like nothing. All of this is an appearance inside the dream. And all of the characters that are in the dream are that dreamer. And they could die and be born and live and all this kind of stuff. And all of it's just dream. Just imagine like if you went to sleep tonight and you dreamt a 10-year dream and all the things are happening and people are doing their thing and all this kind of stuff. And it really appears real. Even you're in this dream. You have a dream body in this dream behaving with all the folks. But then you wake up, even though you've dreamt 10 years worth of time, and you realize, whew, none of it could have been real. None of it. How could it have been real? There was nothing. It's just the dream consciousness has created this, and myself as a dream body in it. So all of the body-based experience, all of the body-based knowledge, all of the body-based concepts are absolutely illusion because you're formless. There's nothing. None of this has ever happened. Nothing is nothing.
That's the name of the biography of Papaji. It's called Nothing Ever Happened. And
There you go.
3 volumes.
There you go. Nothing's ever happened. Let's talk about that for, yeah, exactly. 5,000 pages.
He had a
Nothing's
very
happened.
interesting life, but nothing ever happened in it.
Exactly.
That's what you call really slowing down.
At the end, it's 0. That's, that's it. And Nisargadatta Maharaj says, look at all the avatars who've come. Have they really changed anything? No, because it's just this dream consciousness, this sense of existence that's projecting all of this, all of it based on this I am. And that I am appeared and disappeared. So all of the things that came along with the I am or the sense of presence are absolutely illusion because the presence won't be with you forever.
But the presence is all that we have, actually. I mean, like, I guess it's the I am or whatever.
Well, I am presence. Interchangeably, it's been used to, like consciousness, I am, presence, because it's all one. So you just name these different names based on the different things that you're trying to convey about your own selfless self.
Presence would be Brahman, correct? Just as another name?
Presence, Brahman, Atman. Paramatman would be what is prior to presence or prior to beingness, because that's to which Brahman or, para, meaning before or prior to. So you could say this. But again, remember, all these words came along with the body, and that's where all the concepts and all the body knowledge came, was once the body was believed in and the form world was believed in, then words were put together and made sentences and just to convey the reality. Accept your selfless self. There's no God, no Brahman, no Paramatman, no master, no disciple. Nothing is there. Everything that's seen is absolutely illusion. The seer is the only reality. But the seer is not seeing. It's just a projection of whatever is seen. There's no experience. The seer is not experiencing.
So the seer is the projector. Is that what you're saying?
Well, again, we're getting into where everything that we're talking about is in that bubble of illusion. There's something which is appearing in nothing. So when we start discussing things that are the unborn child, basically, the experience of the unborn child, then there's too many different avenues, and the mind can hold on to something and say, aha, this I understand. This concept I can hold on to. I understand this. But all the concepts are false. The direct is that sense of presence, so that I am that. Everything else is just to erase these layers, slowly, silently, permanently, with mantra, remaining with your selfless self. We don't want to jump into the illusory world and try and figure out the different things within it. That's the idea, is to get rid of all that body knowledge, to get rid of everything.
Because everything within it is illusion.
Absolutely. And to sit there, and that's why Maharaj says, please don't get hung up in spiritual words, because the spiritual words have meaning only because of the meaning that's been impressed with them, and the mind grabs hold of this, because the mind has nothing to grab hold of in the formlessness. That's why it just stops, because it's like, hey, I'm going to project these thoughts about, this thing, and you're going to be like, well, but that's not happening. So why am I going to think this thought? I'm not going to use the energy to create a thinker to think this thought. I'd rather just be formless. And even the thought I'd rather be formless is a thought. It's just natural formlessness. Oh, we lost Rami. I just saw the screen change in the
Yeah.
I've read about DMT experiences, and sometimes these people, in their waking state, they smoke the DMT, and then the experience of being in that state, they say, can sometimes seem to last for months.
Well, but again, then there's you using a body form to experience being bodiless. It's kind of a what do you call it? Oxymoron. I'm using this body to have a bodiless experience, when in reality, I just need to erase these body-based impressions. I don't need to use drugs to do that. I just have to remain with sense of presence, with my selfless self. And if I'm not sensing the sense of presence, then there's things that are covering that sense of presence. And what do? I sit quietly with myself in the meditation. Because inside the meditation, I will sense, oh, and I'll just stay there and remain with the sense of presence. And then I'll be able to open my eyes and remain with that subtle feeling of presence while I'm going about my world. And then I'll start discriminating between the real and the unreal. And I'll do it very, very quickly. And I'll remain with the sense of presence and continue and just remain, just marinate, just selfless self-intoxication. And then if somebody in the form-based illusion is trying to bother me, what would I rather do? Believe in this thing that's actually not happening and leave this sense of selfless self, or just remain with my selfless self and allow them to do as they wish? And that gets us to the stories that Maharaj tells about the guy who got spat on 50 times and went and took the bath. Because he's not going to give himself away. Oh my God, I'm feeling so just, oh. And this
Holy
person's
bath,
sitting on me. I'm not going to, I'm not going to trouble myself with that.
That's a nice anecdote. Holy bath.
Yeah. You know what? I enjoy the selfless self-intoxication so much that nothing in this illusory world is going to keep me away from myself. And there's a lot of things. It's like a Christmas tree. You hang ornaments and they all glimmer in the light and your eyes might dash to those. But you know what? There ain't nothing like my own selfless self. I just want to remain just I. Okay, you do your thing. I just remain with my selfless self. And how then can you will see that this that you see is absolutely illusion. Your own selfless self and remaining there is the source of everything.
See, for the eyes of Ramani, John Richards is there. But for the eyes of John Richards, he died long ago. So he is no more.
Is what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Could you hold the
what?
mic up? Hold the mic up.
Yeah. For the eyes of Rami, John Richards is there. But for John Richards, there is no John Richards anymore.
Correct, yeah. It's just seeing, and I see all these little objects on the screen, and they're speaking and listening. And just like when I'm in the everyday life, appearances and disappearances, experiences or scenes basically are appearing and disappearing. I'm not taking the touch of anything. I just remain with my selfless self. And I don't even have to remain with my selfless self after a while. The presence is an object in awareness, and that's the only object in awareness that has any kind of anything.
So what do you do when the presence isn't there, or the awareness of the presence isn't there? What do you do? Just
Well, it's
more
not always there because you're one with it.
Oh.
Usually it's only not there when there's a separation or a feeling of separation, or there's a desire. Like in this moment, if there's a desire to just dive deeply into that sense, you can use this body form to do that. I guess that's why you have this body form, is so that you can tap into that feeling, that very subtle sense of presence, and amplify it. But like when you go outside, many times especially now that the leaves are changing and all this kind of stuff, you walk outside and you just feel like everything is in HD and very vibrant, and everything is aliveness, and it's just all flowing. And even then you're walking, I'm sure people have had this experience where you're walking and the wind is blowing, but there's a subtle feeling that, okay, the wind is hitting this body, but within this body form is that formless reality that's not being affected by the wind at all. Like it's not moving. The wind is hitting against the body, or the rain. I've had the experience of the rain hitting your head, and there's nothing here to say, this rain is hitting me. This rain is like bouncing off the roof, the same as it would bounce off the top of your head. Because there's just an emptiness, formlessness using form in the moment.
It's not really me that's feeling or knowing stuff. It's presence that's knowing and feeling. And if
There's nothing to know.
If I think it's me, then I create like a log jam. And
the only thing to know is presence, and everything's appearing on presence, so there's nothing that's needed to know on the appearances of presence. Just remain with the sense of presence. And like I said, after a while, remaining with the sense of presence, there will be a very subtle turn. And yes, the presence won't be felt like this because you were one with that. And yet, you can use the body and have the self of self-intoxication.
And you know it's present then.
Well, if you're waiting in line, let's say you're in the bank line, it's a very long line, pay attention to the space and know that the space is your own self of self, and all these objects that are in that space are appearing within you. So there's no line, there's no waiting, you're an object within the objectless consciousness, and you're just there. Like there's nothing. So there's no mind flow that says, oh, this is a very long line. You pay attention to the space, and again, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the best way to describe yourself is the absence of phenomena. All the phenomena that's occurring inside the space is not yourself. The space, you can say, this is that subtle sense of presence. And all these objects are appearing within it, as well as the object that's being used to see this scene. But it's just an object. There's no personal thing here.
It's so good to have you and somebody like Ramakant to explain this, because
Really,
it does take
unarguably second with this. It's like, John, the words flowing through Mr. John, no? It's like explosion of a fountain with, like infinite energy.
Yeah.
Is my master. Again, this is voice box, this is an empty instrument, master speaking through. Because there's no kind of anything here that's trying to filter or think, it's just a flow. The space in the room is using this instrument to speak to itself in the other different various forms.
Selfless.
I got to keep undermining my concepts.
I like what you just said, John, about the being an object in objectless consciousness. There's no objects in consciousness. It's
exactly what Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, right? Consciousness speaks to consciousness.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
thank you.
Jai Sadhguru.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Jai Sadhguru.